Welcome to the Influential Personal Brand Podcast. This is the place where we help mission-driven messengers just like you learn how to build and monetize your personal brand. My name is Rory Vaden, and I'm the co-founder of Brand Builders Group, a Hall of Fame speaker, and New York Times bestselling author. And this show is to help experts learn how to become more wealthy and well-known. I know you're going to love it. Thanks for being here. Let's get started.
Mindi, this is such an exciting day. I love when I get the opportunity to interview real life friends. And today is one of those special days. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, AJ. It's such an honor to be here.
I know that in the introduction, I shared a whole bunch of stuff about what you do today. But what I would really love to help our audience know is, how did you get into the business of owning and running honestly one of the most successful bridal shops in the country? How did that start? How did you get into that?
Yes, well, I was over 20 years ago, recently engaged and started shopping for my wedding dress. And I went everywhere in Colorado that had a stand-up business, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go check them out. And either it was an older rundown shop with old inventory and definitely not the vision that I wanted, but they had nice staff, or it was the antithesis. It was a beautiful showroom, gorgeous gowns, but not a friendly environment. And so I remember shopping in both of those worlds thinking, why can't it be both? Why can't it be a beautiful shop, gorgeous products, but then some of the friendliest people to help you feel beautiful for your wedding day? I mean, I felt terrible shopping in some of these places. Like maybe I didn't have a high enough price point, or my size wasn't going to be accessible. And I thought, you know what? There could be a better solution. And so after my wedding, I told my husband, I said, I want to fix it. I want to create something that is both of those worlds, and I'd like to start my own business.
Okay. So I think this is a really big deal, because all of you who are listening know that we often share this statement, this sentiment, that you are most powerfully positioned to serve the person that you once were. And you and Jordan, your husband, who you guys are business partners, you guys are kind of the epitome of that. And you didn't know it at the time, clearly. But I mean, how long has it been? 21?
We've been married 20 years and our shop's been open 18.
Yeah. So let's take it back 18 years ago to you guys. You had this experience 20 years ago, roughly probably 21 years ago. You opened
Yes.
it 18 years ago. You identified a problem and you're like, I want to solve that. I want to make this different. What was it? I guess, and I would love to hear like your thoughts and opinion of like why Jordan said yes, but like,
Yeah.
what was it about this particular experience, or about you specifically, that was like, no, this is a big enough deal that I actually want to make a business around it?
Well, I would say that I've always wanted to have my own business. It was something that was like a deep desire in my heart, but I didn't want to just start something, in my 20s that was just a random start a business. So I was waiting, honestly, I'm a person of faith. I was waiting for God to reveal to me kind of a need in a marketplace that would match my skill set. And so it kind of fell in my lap in a way, because I had such a bad experience shopping and wasn't finding what I was looking for or the service I needed, that I eventually went out of state and got my dress. And I said to him, I said, if it doesn't exist here, why don't we create it? And he thought it was a little wild because, we were both teachers, not making a lot of money, but we had put a huge down payment, thanks to Jordan, on our first little house, our little home. And we were able to take out a home equity line of credit to start this business. And, this was back in the day of Barnes and Noble. There was no chat GPT. So I'd go and I'd buy these like business plan books and read everything about a SWOT analysis and how do I start a business. And we just wung it. I mean, kind of, I would say ignorance is bliss, because if I had known some of the challenges of retail and overhead costs and things like that, it probably would have scared me away. But because I was so passionate, like you said, to solve the problem of making a woman feel beautiful, accepted, and special, regardless of her price point or her body type, that those two things really made me feel like I am passionate enough to come alongside and create that experience. But then also I recognize that that's a skill that I feel like God really gave me, and that's celebrating others. I love making other people feel celebrated. So I was like, that's a very natural pairing from my gifts and the need in the marketplace. And my husband absolutely agreed. He just was like, this is very risky, you know? However, at that time we had no extra mouths to feed. And if we were going to go for it, I felt like that was the time to go for it. So we went all in, and I just did 100% the business. I didn't like trickle in. I literally quit my job, went all in, didn't make any money for the first 3 years, and just put every profit back into the business. And then it just grew substantially over the last 18 years.
So I think that's a good, quick, just reflection point if everyone didn't hear that. For 3 years, you basically didn't make any money. Anything you made just went right back into the business. And I
Correct.
think it's important because we live, which is not news to anyone, but we live in a I want it right now world. Like if it hasn't worked in the last 6 months, then it's not worth it. Or if it's not succeeding in the first year, then this was a waste of time and money. But that's not reality. That's not what true success in business looks like. It's like it takes time. So, can you just give me a quick idea when you say we made no money for the first 3 years? Like, take us back to those first 3 years for just a quick minute and go, what does that actually mean?
What does that mean? Okay, well, first of all, we took out $100,000 in 2007 as a line of HELOC on our house. So if we didn't pay it back, we'd lose our home. I did everything in the meantime to create extra revenue. So I worked 7 days a week, but I'd teach piano lessons at the night. I would do errands for people for extra money. I would do whatever I could. My husband stayed as an educator. So, we're making 30,000 a year plus these piano lesson like on the side. And so the first 3 years, our goal was to pay off the line of credit. Like just before we pay ourselves, we really try to live as much debt free as possible. So we tackled the debt, and then after the third year is when we were able to finally say, okay, if we wanted to take a little bit of income, we could, but we paid that line of credit off first. And we lived very, very modestly. And people don't actually understand that sacrifices like that set you up in the long run so much better. But we didn't care that our friends got new cars or were having kids and everything. That was beautiful. We were like, we see the end goal. And I would say that's probably one of our superpowers, Jordan and I, is we're able to really just like be super gritty for many months and years at a time if we know the bigger vision. And so it is something I tell people as I coach. I'm encouraging them. It does take 3 to 5 years before you receive an income, and it doesn't just come to you, and it's a grind. And so if you're struggling with traffic or anything in your business, I'm always like, well, how much have you done the grind? How much have you really gone out there and after it? Because it took us working in the evenings, working in the morning, like doing a lot of extra work that other people aren't willing to always sacrifice. But now we are reaping the benefit.
Yeah, I just think that's just really important for anyone who's listening, who you just feel like it's not working.
Right.
You're on the verge of giving up. And if you just reflect back and go, well, how long has it been?
Yeah.
A month, 6 months, a year, even 2 years, even 3 years. Like I relate to that because it was a full 5 years. We were in year 5 of Brand Builders Group before Rory and I started paying ourselves.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty average, actually.
Full
Yeah.
5 years. And we were living off of savings. We had to sell a car. Like there was a lot of things that had to happen, but it's like, I think it's just encouragement if you're listening to this to go, it can still happen, right? Like,
Totally.
but it also means it requires more of you in some cases than maybe you've been giving. And that might be an opportunity to reflect on. And I just think that's like such an important part of so many entrepreneurs' stories. We look at the success that you're having today and we can compare it. We try to compare it to the success or lack thereof that we're having. And it's like, it's that good reminder of like, I cannot compare my step 1 to your step 1000, my year 1 to your year 18. And that's the problem is like you cannot compare those things that they're not the same. So I just think that's like a good highlight moment of for anyone who's listening of like, it might be looking good now
Yeah.
on the backs of a lot of
Man, I think of how many things we've missed, AJ, like you too, probably over the years of, social involvement or, I'm thinking of the evenings that people went out and we were working bridal shows, or, there's so many sacrifices that you have to make. As long as you have the big picture in mind and the purpose of like, here's who we're here to help, and we know the big dream, it's just going to take a long time to get there.
Yeah. And I think that's an important part of like you said a key word. It's like who you're doing this for, right? And that's what makes it worth it. It's not
Hmm.
paycheck or a dollar. It's like, hey, no, like I had this horrible experience. I never want anyone else to have that. And there's women coming into my stores where I get to change the trajectory of how they experience love and fashion and body image on one of the most important days of their life. Like it's a big
Right.
deal. And I think that who part is a big part of it. Okay. I could stay right there for the next 45 minutes, but I'm not because everyone else wants me to probably like move on. But I think it's a really unique thing that Jordan initiated and you eventually got on board with. How do you use your reputation? How do you use your personal brand to actually help you grow your bridal store business? And I think this is a really important conversation for so many people listening because I hear all the time, everywhere I go, oh, a personal brand is just for influencers or authors or podcasters or speakers, or you have to be this thought leader to grow a personal brand. And that's not what we believe. And that's not what you guys have done. You guys really have used your reputation, your personal brand to grow an amazing, thriving business in the bridal industry. Can you just talk about how that has come about?
Yeah, it's the word you used is what you've taught us anyways. It's just been like brand is like the same thing as reputation. And I love how you and Rory put that because it just simplifies the understanding of why. So many people I think resist going online about their lives because either one, they don't want to feel braggy. It's really kind of messy because you like live in a community where people know you in real life. And then you don't want to be like, oh, and this is also who I am online and try to be a different person. So we've tried to really show up authentically online, the good and the bad, not just highlight reels of this is how awesome we are. We really want it to be, hey, sometimes there's hard days, sometimes there's tough things, uh, and realistic. But I will just say, once you can get over the fact that like it's a little awkward to show up online, you realize like we're just highlighting the reputation we've been living out our whole adult lives. We're just highlighting that on the internet so that people who might not get a chance to get up close can feel like they are. Because now, if you come into my boutique on any day of the week, I think you're pretty familiar with Jordan and I, even if we haven't gotten to shake your hand, but people feel like they can trust the business they're going to shop at because they know the reputation of the owners. And so as we've grown over the years, I don't interface very often with the bride and groom. I sadly, that's one of the things I miss. But as we've grown and evolved, I have the most incredible team that does that. However, I still feel like the customer feels close to us because of how much we've shown up online. And so thanks to Brand Builders Group and like you said, Jordan, uh, kicking me into doing this, I realized, okay, this is actually super important, regardless of your business type. Like we happen to be in the wedding industry. Let's just say that's on the side. We have our personal account so that you can feel like, oh, these people, like they're raising kids. They're trying to do the thing. They showed up at moments that were hard. They care about their community. What are things that they value? And then if people relate to those things that we value, they're more bought in to be customers because they feel like they're connected to us. It's been so strange. Even our, marriage and family podcast, we've had people come to our bridal shop from hours away that found our YouTube channel,
Mm.
loved our, perspective on marriage, and then said, oh my gosh, I want to come here to shop. And I didn't get to personally meet them, but my staff was like, that is so cool that they felt close to you and they trusted us. So it's very reciprocal and more than I ever imagined. But basically, I would just like to say to people, your reputation, if you're only in person, can only go so far because it's dependent on who you run into the grocery store or see at the PTO meeting. When you put your reputation online, it's like a 10x effect So people are starting to feel like they know you and they can hang out with you. It's kind of weird, actually. I was at market last week in Atlanta and people would be like, oh my gosh, hey, Mindy, how's, the dog? Like they felt like I don't even know them, but they knew my life and they felt like we were friends. And so that was cool from a coaching perspective because, you know, this is a future client that I'm hoping to engage with, but she feels like she can relate to me as a mom, wife, whatever. And it's just really neat because like I said, it makes the splash a little bit bigger in the pool of reputation.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's like you guys are really, I think, paving the path in so many ways for other people in your industry to also be able to do the same thing. And I think that's like a great reminder. And like one of the reasons that I wanted to have Mindy on the show, other than I know her personally and she's just amazing and a wealth of knowledge and she's fun and so many other reasons, but it's also because I think there is this misnomer that personal branding is tied to all these other things. Oh, you have to be a course creator and all these other things. And it's just not true. It's like we all have a personal brand and you can leverage it to the benefit of what you're doing right now, of helping people get to know you, like you, and trust you, thus then introducing your business to them. But this is about you as a human, not what you sell. It's about
Right.
building real life human connection in a way that we've never been able to do it easier, faster, and cheaper than we can do right now online. And there's an acceleration of trust and reputation that happens globally in some cases that then allows you to grow your business because you're allowing people to get to know you. There's a lot of
Yes.
power in that. And
So
I think
much power.
you're doing it really, really well. Now, you guys have you guys were already super successful at your business and already a leading expert in the industry long before we encountered you at Brand Builders Group. So one of the questions I have is this concept that I think a lot of people struggle with, and I say this from the Brand Builders Group community, but not just that community, and a lot of communities I'm a part of where people really struggle with this idea of imposter syndrome. They think that this knowledge they have is common knowledge. And they don't really think that what they do or they have done is all that special or unique or special. Thus, they don't believe they really have the power to help someone else. So, the question I have for you is, and not just in a business sense, but in just like a human sense of like, what were some of the pivotal moments that you've had in business and in family where you had this idea or you started to believe it's like, this can translate into real thought leadership for an industry. It's like what we're doing is different. Like there is something that's working here that could help other bridal shop owners. Like what were some of the things that led you to go, wait, maybe we are doing something really unique. Maybe we are doing something that other people aren't doing because you guys are. And you're helping other bridal shop owners from around the country. Like that was an evolution of expertise and experience and success. So, what were some of those moments that you were like, wait, maybe
Mhm.
we are doing something right here? Maybe it could help someone else.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, there's a lot of moments over the years that I think of when you ask me that question. Anything from when I'm seeing the amount of traffic and the amount of brides coming from so far away to have this experience, and I hear that the stores in the same town were dead and had no appointments. Like, I'm like, wow, we had 40 brides today. And I would hear that they had none. And I was like, that's very different. That's interesting, right? So lots of Saturdays like that over the years. And I would hear that not from brides, I would hear that from brand reps, how they travel from location to location to sell you their products. And they would go from their store to my store and say, there's nobody at that store. What are you doing here? Like, what's going on? Like, what is the juice? Are you serving people here? I was like, nothing. We're just like doing our very best. But so I started to realize, okay, in my own local market, we were we were just seeing so much success with our processes of, and I don't want to say sales, but just in the sense of we were driving a ton of traffic. We were unique in how we serve them. Our experience is super personalized and we were just seeing a tremendous amount of success. Then I would go to our industry market events, which is where we go and buy. And, you start to have people come up to you and ask you questions like, hey, how are you guys doing this? Or I saw you did this on Facebook. Tell me about that. Or what's this sale about? And then eventually, a friend of mine asked me to do a little speaking session. And I used to be an educator and I love training and development. So I was like, sure. So I spoke at Atlanta Merchandise Mart for bridal shop owners. And it was kind of the first spark of I wasn't coaching, I wasn't speaking or anything, but they asked me to speak on some marketing tips. I did it. And afterwards, I was like swarmed by all these owners that were like, we've never heard any of this before. Nobody's ever talked about the way you explain how you promote your Something New is the name of my bridal shop. Nobody's ever talked about how they promote their business this way. Will you do some speaking sessions for our store? And so there just started to be this little bit of a whisper of a clue that like this is needed in our industry. Nobody's thinking outside the box. What's tricky is when you're industry specific, we all start to just look at each other for ideas. And I would just say to you is that for me, since the beginning, since day one, I've never wanted to go to my own industry to learn ideas. I've been like a much wider, bigger net kind of thinker. I read books not about bridal. I like to expose myself to different ways of thinking. And so I've always said like, oh man, that's how that works in the tire industry. That's really interesting. If I go get my tires changed, I'd be like, how are they selling these aftercare packages? Let me listen to their spiel. And I would listen to it. I'd go to a spa and I'd listen to them do this whole interview with me about my skin type and then make recommendations to me about what type of products I need after my massage. And I was like, that was really fascinating. Can you say it again? And they were like, you're so weird. You're so weird. But I'm like taking notes wherever I go, because then what I would do is I'd say, okay, the world at large, how are they successful in their experience they provide customers? So it doesn't have to just be at Disney World, but everywhere you go, you can like be a learner and observer. And then I would take it back to bridal and I'd tweak it and make it my own. And so I think that's where I was different in this industry, is that, like I said, everybody just kind of copies each other. And maybe this is true for most industries, but I was like, no, I want to kind of reach out and bring good practices and apply it to our industry. And so I'm very different. And that's why I named my brand Something New. I'm always trying something new. I'm always exploring how can we do it better and what does the customer need today? Because it's very different than what they needed 18 years ago, what they need today. And so every year we're evaluating how can we be the best? How can we do better for our customer and get out of the way? You know what I'm saying? Like not make it about ourselves. So I would say that was a spark maybe 6 years ago, and slowly and surely started coaching, teaching, and now we have our own company, and it's just pretty delightful because, to your point, we're serving who we once were.
Yeah, I think this is really, really important for those of you who are listening who undervalue and underestimate what you do that is unique, special, and extraordinary. And I think that a lot of people, they undervalue their own experience, their own expertise. And what's ordinary to you is most often extraordinary to someone else. And you were able to pick up what was ordinary in your everyday life, but when you went out to others around you, it was extraordinary. But
Right.
you also made the decision of, I got to do something about this. Right? This wasn't just a compliment when you were out at market. This was like, no, there's something here. So today, you guys still run the Something New Bridal Shop.
Yep.
Also have a thriving coaching business, coaching other bridal shop owners. How was the evolution from, 18 years as bridal shop owners, which you still are, using your personal brand to grow that business, make it what it is today, which was, again, already on a fast path to success, to also being like, okay, now there's this other thing too that we're going to add in, because it wasn't that you diverged. It wasn't a divergent from what you were doing. You're still serving the same industry. You're still serving a segment of the same people. It's just really more in connection with it's like you were serving the person you used to be as a young bride. Now you're serving the person you used to be as a struggling bridal shop owner, right? And so there was
Hmm.
some evolution in the who, some addition to that. You didn't have to do that. Y'all could have just like coasted off into the sunset, had a
Yeah.
really awesome business.
I think about that sometimes. Like, why did I go for the hard? I'm joking.
Like, what was it in all of that? Because I think a lot of us are struggling with that. It's like, should I go do this new thing? Or I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's an EO last Friday at a coffee shop, literally. And he just had a successful exit from his business. And he's like, now I could just go start another one of those businesses, but I don't really want to. And he goes, but it's like this whole idea of coaching and consulting. He's like, I mean, I feel like what I do is pretty basic. And I'm like, okay, well, as a avatar, I will tell you the words that you just used. I feel like I'm hearing Chinese. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about when it comes to all this cybersecurity stuff. So there's just still this segment of people underestimate the power of the knowledge they have and how it can help someone else. You guys saw it, you noticed it, but then you did something different. You did something about it, and you started a whole new branch of business coaching bridal shop owners. So how did that happen? Like, how did you go from just
Yeah.
this brick and mortar business to now having a hugely successful and growing bridal shop coaching business?
That's a great question. It kind of goes back to that 6 years ago when I was inundated with people after I spoke. It was just enough to say, I'm kind of interested in this. Also, I pay attention to clues. I feel like God gives us little clues along our lifetime. And remember, I used to be a teacher. My master's degree is in education, specifically in curriculum design, which is crazy. And I didn't know how I would use that. But fast forward, I'm sitting there going like, my passion and skill set, natural skill set is training and development. I know how to do something that these people are asking me about. This kind of makes sense here. So after that event, I did a few one-on-one coaching experiences, saw a lot of traction, and a really successful firm in the bridal industry asked me to be a coach for bridal owners just as a one-on-one consultant. So I said, hey, that's probably the next step. It'll put me on another person's stage. It's a good open door to start. And I did 3 years of one-on-one coaching with dozens and dozens of clients, probably 80 people. I would look back and say, and I was really a student at the time as well. Like while I was coaching them, I was studying and taking diligent notes on this avatar of like, what are their biggest pain points? What are they struggling with? What do they show up every single week and ask me about? So I was, again, delayed gratification, right? I was like, taking in thought on if I were to really solve their problems, do they have enough consistently same problems across this big grouping of people? And after the 3 year, coaching one-on-one, which was so rewarding, but also, to be honest, very exhausting, it was the grind. I mean, I would come home sometimes from 8 hours of one-on-ones and I couldn't even like talk or listen. And I realized I had to pause. I had to pause. It was too much because I was also running my shop and I have 4 little kids. So I paused and took a like 3 month sabbatical and said, I left the firm, super great terms. We high five each other all the time. They're awesome. And the 3 month sabbatical was time for me to reflect and pray. Like, what does it look like next for me? I knew all this information. I knew how I could serve people, but in order to scale, I couldn't develop just hourly coaching plans anymore because you have a limit on your time. There's only a certain amount of time you have every week. So I could only serve however many people I had hours to serve. So it's almost like a counseling session where it's like, once you're booked, you're booked. And so I was like, I have more people wanting what I know and what I want to share than the amount of hours I have in a week. So now I think it's time to launch something else. So in that sabbatical, I really spent time like, interviewing really smart people, praying, reading books. How would it look to solve the problem in more of a digital format? So I created almost like a Netflix for bridal shop owners where you log into a platform and you can search a keyword of whatever you're struggling with. And I have it all super organized with over 60 courses and downloadables and templates and everything you'd imagine from the years of one-on-one coaching to know what their problem really is. And then I created a solution that now is like a forever living database of my life work on how to be a successful bridal shop owner. So now we have people from New Zealand, UK, Ireland, Scotland, Canada, US, all over the world, over 100 clients full on in our program. And not just doing that, it's really cool because AJ, I decided to be a practitioner coach, meaning I don't want to leave my bridal shop to just coach. My bridal shop has become, in essence, a hub of research to try out my solutions that I come up with in my crazy mind. And I try everything out for a year before I introduce it to my clients and I make sure it's actually going to work. And then I teach on it monthly live. I solve problems every month and continue to add to the platform. So it's just been really cool because now it can scale. There's no limit. I could serve as many people as they want, like as many people as that want to become profitable in their business and have a bridal shop that they enjoy, that they don't resent because it's weekends every weekend. I'm so fortunate. I get to
Hmm.
use my shop as like a hub of education. And so our team is just on fire in the sense of they realize they're not just making a difference in the brides that we serve, but they're actually making a difference in the industry. And we're teaching people how it can look different and it doesn't have to die like most retail. It can be very focused on providing a bride the moment she's always dreamed of. And we're hoping that never goes away.
Oh my gosh. Y'all, if y'all do not feel inspired hearing that, then I need you to pause, rewind, and listen to that again because I think this is a really important part of the future of business, right? There is the business, but then there is the benefit, the gift, the responsibility of teaching people what you have learned. That doesn't mean you have to leave your business, sell your business, retire from your business. There is a way for you to be a practitioner and a coach. Right. And I think that's a really important thing because we hear a lot of, well, you have to go all in and you have to leave this one thing to do the next thing. And sometimes that's true, but there's another way too of going, I can have an established business, have the business run, and still do the other things that I feel called to do that are forwarding the influence, that are making a bigger impact, and that my team actually gets to come with me. It's not something I'm doing by myself. It's something that the entire team is coming along for the ride. I think that's a really big deal. And it's a great reminder to me. And this is what I wrote down when you were talking is no matter what you've done, no matter what you've been through, no matter your successes or failures, or all the things you tried, the things that you kept doing, the things that you stopped doing, nothing is for naught. All your experience, all your trials, all your efforts, all your, temporary endeavors, like whatever it is that we're all going through, they're like, oh, that's a waste of time, or that didn't work. It's like, that's not true. All the things that you have done and are doing currently are preparing you for what's next. And it's a gift and a responsibility to not forget that and to actually use it to do something greater.
Totally agree. I couldn't agree more. He hasn't, like, I don't feel like God has wasted a thing or a moment or a relationship or a failure. All of it can be used as lessons learned and applied for your future decision making skills. So it's been a ride to say the least, but it's been a really good one.
Also for the benefit of others.
Yeah,
Like I love that old saying. It's like you do not have to recreate the wheel. Right? There have been enough people who've tweaked and fine-tuned the wheel that you can learn from them. You just have to have enough people who go, I want to show you. I want to teach you. And this doesn't apply just to the bridal shop industry. This could be any industry if you're listening of going, how could I start teaching all that I have learned, all that I know, in addition to not leaving the main thing, but I can also create this thought
yeah,
leadership and education path too.
I think of all the mentors and business coaches I've had. I'm sure you as well. And I think that's also a part of just a gratitude piece here of saying, like, I'm so thankful for all the people that have shown me the way, even though it wasn't maybe industry specific. That's what I was searching for. But because they did shed light or mentor me in a certain way or really, like I said, teach me new things. I was so grateful that now it's almost like a duty and a responsibility to give back. And there's a quote I used to always tell myself when I was hungry for more, and it was life's too short to learn your own lessons. So you're going to learn
Yeah.
your own lessons, but why not also learn from others? Because that is the speed. Like where I am today, 18 years, is really where some people are at 40. And it's only because I learned from other people's lessons and I was so hungry. I asked a lot of questions and I sought out education. There's just so much value in learning from other people's missteps in addition to your own because I basically doubled my time, right? Like I learned from their lessons and I learned from mine. So I just, like I said, I'm really grateful for the mentors and coaches I've had along the way. And I hope that I can be that type of a person for someone else.
I love that. And you're just so great at that in general. Okay. I have 3 questions that I hope we can tackle in the next 10 minutes. So if I move quickly, That's why, because I'm watching the clock and I know that we're running out of time. But I have three really important questions that I think are super pertinent to this conversation. So here's the first one. What advice would you give to someone who wants to move from business ownership into industry thought leader?
I would say to find where those people gather and go start to talk to them.
Mm,
So this could be a conference, this could be a Facebook group online, this could be wherever they are. You just need to start by having conversations and get to know what are they struggling with? Because to your point, a lot of times we think, oh, that's obvious. But sometimes it's not. What's obvious to them as a successful person in our industry might be something that they're struggling with. So I think you need to get on the ground and really start to understand their problems. And it only starts with conversations. So if you can go in person, I'm a big believer of in person experiences. Sometimes they have, real estate network gatherings or things like that, and just get around the people that are struggling, listen to their problems. And then the second piece to that is start to serve them with free resources. So if that's free phone calls, if that's free downloadables, if that's free website with a whole bunch of like tons of tips, however you can serve them, because at first I did it for free. You know what I'm saying? Like after I spoke at that first time and these stores started calling me with questions, I would just answer them. I want to help you. I would just answer them. But then I kept track of what they were struggling with so that I was prepared for more things to come.
yeah, I think that's good. I mean, step one from going from business owner to industry thought leader is like, you got to know what the industry is struggling with. What are people like you struggling with? What problems do they have? How would you answer them? And part two is then start answering them, right? Show
Yes. Yes.
them, answer the questions, share what you've learned, be on panels, speak at conferences, take phone calls, answer DMs. It's just start giving away the knowledge you have for free.
And I thought of one more thing. A lot of industries have publications like little specialty magazines. And so you can offer to be a guest columnist like every week. You could say, hey, I would be totally fine just for free providing you content every time you release a magazine or a publication. And even though some of those are online, I just think that's another place to show up. They appreciate the not having to write an article to fill page 7 every week, but I'm just saying these are some really easy ways to just start to show up as a person that does know what they're talking about and provides free education. And eventually you can charge.
Love that. So, so good. You just got to make the effort, right? Reach out, make
Yes.
the effort, do the thing. Okay, second questions. How can leaders, business owners, but we're saying leaders, identify when it's time to scale their influence beyond their company? Like, when did you know, like, okay, this isn't just something I'm doing in my company anymore. I'm going to scale this influence, what I've learned outside of the company.
Well, I would say in your market, if you're kind of dominating, not to be weird, but over the 18 years, we've seen a lot of competitors come and go. And so that was a key indicator that like we're doing something right because we've stood the test of time, right? And we've seen consistent growth every year. So it's like, okay, you might be doing something right if you've seen consistent growth every year and you have the longevity that has surpassed other people trying to do the same work. Then when you start to get asked questions, that's your clue.
Good. Those are three things. I'm gonna recap for everyone. Number two, it's like when you've like really tested the time like test, right? It's like there's longevity. Like you've passed the time test, like you're still in business, right? I think this is a good reminder.
Yeah,
It's the majority of all small businesses fail in the first 5 years. When I say the
hmm
majority, it's like 90% of small businesses fail in the first 9 years, and less than 10% make it past 10 years, right? So that longevity of just like, again, a reminder, it's like if it's year one, maybe not it, but it's like, how have you like really made it through the test of time? So that's one, number one, longevity. Number two is that consistent growth year over year. Do you continue to grow regardless of the market, administration, the economy, and whatever your competitors do? Are you continuing to see consistent growth? Number three, when people just start coming to you. And I think those are three great indicators of, all right, now this is a great potential time to start scaling your influence beyond your ordinary business of you're still in business, check, you're still growing, check, and people are now coming to you asking you, how are you doing that? Those are three
exactly.
simple, awesome tips. You heard it here first. Those are great. All right, last question. And then I want to, well, sorry, I lied. Last business question. Then I want to talk about this awesome freebie that you have for our audience. On the same kind of topic, what's one action that you would suggest or recommend someone take to start building industry credibility?
That's really good. I would say, first of all, I've already mentioned a few, right? Offer free advice, show up where they're hanging out, be supportive, be a phone call away for people having questions, offer to write on platforms that need a columnist or a specialist to answer those questions too. But beyond that, beyond those things that we already talked about, it's really starting to use positioning statements in your marketing, in your personal brand and reputation. And when I say positioning statements, things like our industry's thought leader on marketing in such and such domain, or for us, Colorado's best wedding dress shopping experience. There's so much power in positioning statements. And this is kind of a nitty gritty thing, but I just think that if you can curate a couple really important ones and start to kind of wrap those around all the different places you show up, whether that's online, on your website, on your Instagram handle. We've even bought domain names like that before, where it's like the positioning statement so that we own the search words of the positioning statement so that people start to come. It's just kind of, it's like laying a really good cement foundation for what you're about to build. So I think, we want to make sure that we're saying what we do and who we are and how we're the expert, and then offer all the free support around it. But sometimes if we just say on our personal website or whatever, oh, I'm Mindy, I'm a mom and a business owner or whatever. No, I want to be the best profitable business. Like, I will teach you profitability if you're a bridal shop owner anywhere in the world. I'm the best coach for that. And then I own all the positioning statements wherever that is. Then I want people to think of my name synonymous with that type of position. Like, this lady is saying she can teach bridal shops how to be profitable more than anybody else can, and that you need her business school more than anyone else in the world. So when I wrap around those business, positioning statements to how I show up, it's a match. Because if I just showed up talking about business, but didn't tell people my purpose, I think it would be confusion. But I love how they kind of go hand in hand. And so my business pages give a ton of free support. Every video is like, hey, these are ways to increase your Google reviews. Hey, this is how you can retain staff. Here's how you can pay people better. I mean, I give all this free knowledge all over the account, but if you read who we are and how we help people, it's like we teach business owners how to be profitable so they can have a business that they enjoy. And so we're really clear with how we're supporting them, but we show up everywhere online that way. So I'm just saying that would be a first step for me, is just start to tell people who you're here to help and how you're going to help them, but then do it and have it be a match.
Really important, because I think that kind of comes back to this like little bit of a topic that we had earlier around imposter syndrome. Like, a lot of people don't do it because they don't acknowledge or see what they're doing as unique, special, even though it is. But then they have a real hard time acknowledging that publicly to others. But it's kind of one of those weird catch-22 things. It's like people don't know if you don't tell them.
Right.
Like, they actually, you have to tell them. It made me think about this funny event I was speaking at. This was years ago, and I was a speaker on stage, and it was at this huge advertising promotional conference, and I was on stage speaking, and I get down, and I just offered to do like an after session Q&A for anyone who wanted to stick around. And this one person walked up to me, and they're like, so, like, what do you do for like a real job? And I was like, what do you mean? And they were like, what's like your 9 to 5? And I thought to myself, I'm a speaker. Like, what do you mean? Like, that's what I do is what I just did for you. And they were like, wait, you're a speaker like full time? Like, that's your job? I was like, yes. And then, so I had this aha moment, and I went back and I read my bio, and my bio did not have in there that I was a speaker, a consultant, a trainer, or a coach. And
Isn't that crazy?
they just sat in a room with me for an hour experienced what I do and did not know what I did. And that
Because,
is like so much of it was like, I didn't tell them. I just
right,
talked, but I didn't tell them this is what I do. This is what I research. This is what I talk about. Like my profession is what you're experiencing. And I'm like, this guy just literally thought I was like some volunteer that came in and was like hosting a session. And it was like a aha reckoning moment for me of like, they don't know if you don't explicitly outline and tell them.
correct,
That's our job.
correct. And so, yes, I just feel like it was one of the very basic first things someone can do is get really clear on how can you explain it in 30 seconds or less what you do and that you are the leader in such and such. And so that is something I've, tried a few times in the sense of, you try to explain it and oh, they didn't get it. So I got to reword it the next time. And you experiment with it. You have to tell the world what you want to help them with if you want them to see you as somebody that's a thought leader.
Yeah. That's so, 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 so true and so good. And a good reminder to all of us is that they don't know if you don't tell them. And so a part of
Correct.
that is that positioning. Okay. A little bit of a transition as we're wrapping up here. And so this is two-part. One is a question I have for you, and two is this awesome giveaway that we have for our audience. And so here's my last question for you today. We've mentioned this a few times throughout this interview that you and your husband, Jordan, started this bridal shop business together. You guys are still happily married and happily in business. And he is also part of the bridal shop coaching business and co-host with the podcast. You guys do so much together. So here's my question. What have you learned about working with your spouse that you think applies to relationships universally? So what have you learned about working with your spouse that applies to relationships universally?
That you each have your own strengths and to let each other run in each other's own lane
Mm,
without getting upset that they don't operate just like you in your lane. So I thought just because we were married that he would understand what I meant by things or that there would be this really easy flow. But our brains are so different and the way we operate are so different. And I think that applies to my whole team that the more years I'm with my team, and I have people anywhere from 6 years to 14 years that have worked for me, the more I spend time, I'm realizing we're all growing every year. We're all becoming different, better people every single year. And if we don't focus on realizing, hey, that's actually what they're passionate about, like I try to really tweak people's job roles every year they're with me to be even more dialed in to their God-given strengths, abilities, and just passions. And so that we're each playing to those. And same with my spouse. It's like we maybe started out with certain roles, but we have evolved and transitioned into what we're passionate about. And it's a constant dialogue of there's part of our roles that we have to do just because we have to do them, right? Nobody loves everything that comes along with entrepreneurship. But there are people that in this relationship as a partner or as a team member that are better suited for certain skills and tasks. And so I just would like to say, lean into that instead of fighting it. Lean into it. And the faster you lean into it and celebrate those good things about that person instead of being frustrated that you wish they were more like this, I think you're going to have a happier work life and marriage.
so good. And you and Jordan have created this amazing free resource. So, for all of you who are listening, we'll put this in the show notes, but there's this awesome free download that you guys can grab. It's the Spotlight decision making tool for working couples, right? And so you can go to jordanandmindy.com forward slash resources, jordanandmindy.com forward slash resources. We will put that link in the show notes. Such a generous gift. Thank you for giving us this download. And like I said, even if you're not working with your spouse, these practices, these principles apply universally throughout relationships, but this is curated really for couples who are working together. So thank you so much for that. Mindy, if people just want to connect with you because you're so awesome, where should they go?
I would say the place I'm most often showing up is on Instagram, and they can follow my Instagram handle, Mindi Linscombe. It's just my first and last name on Instagram, and then you'll see all the things that we do from there.
Yes, and I will also put that in the show notes as well. But then they also co-host an awesome The Something New show, which is an amazing podcast. We'll put that in the show notes. Mindi, this has been such an awesome conversation with so much universally applicable information for anyone who's going from business owner to thought leader, taking what they've learned and starting to share that to help other people in and outside of their industry. So thank you so much for coming on. I love you. I love this conversation. I hope everyone else has enjoyed it as much as I have. And for everyone who is listening, thank you for sticking around. Stay tuned for the recap episode, and we will see you next time on the
Thank
Influential
you.
Personal Brand. Bye, everybody.
Bye.